Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of Scale Up Stories here at Digital Beans. Of course, as ever, if you want to go back and listen to our episodes, not just from Scale Up Stories, but also myself and the MD of the company, Pip, talking about how we're planning on scaling up Digital Beans, just in your podcast platform, search Digital Beans or Scale Up Stories or Scale Up Diaries, and you'll be able to find all of our previous episodes in audio format for you to listen to at any time. And of course, follow us as well as you can do on Spotify, and subscribe on Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts as well. But obviously, if you've not listened to Scale Up Stories before, this is my opportunity to talk to business owners from around the Southeast and far beyond, learning about how some of the most well-known businesses and local businesses have got to where they are today. And as ever, carrying on with the Kent theme, I'm thrilled to be joined by Sally Newall, who's the managing director of Simply Ice Cream. Sally, how are you doing? We're used to talking to each other now. This is like this is a weekly thing now. I get your company. I love it.
Nearly, yeah.
How are you?
I'm all right.
Okay. Thank you for joining me. I know it's extremely busy times for you guys, and you've got a lot going on. But I think the best place to start is for anyone out there who doesn't know about Simply Ice Cream. Can you just tell us a little bit about your business?
Okay. Well, Simply Ice Cream set up in October 2005. It was actually a very slow burn to start with. We had a catering business, which we still have, and we grew the business very organically, going into one farm shop in the first year, 5 in the second. And then 2008, we launched in Waitrose. So that was when I sort of decided that actually this could be a real business. And we just went from there, really.
What was that like, getting that first sort of trade, so to speak, deal or distributor deal to go into Waitrose? How did that feel?
It was scary because we had no idea what that would mean for us in terms of scale and volume. But in actual fact, sort of the farm shops have a much sort of more regular footfall, I think. And I think, sort of farm shops tend to sort of, when you're going to the farm shop, you're shopping and going home quite often. Whereas when you go to a supermarket, you're doing a big shop, but you might not necessarily be going straight home afterwards. So I think we were quite surprised. It grew quite substantially over the next few years with Waitrose. But the farm shops are still our main business. The farm shops, independents, delis, that sort of thing.
Yeah, of course. And sort of, where are you guys now? Are you mainly distributing? God, why did I start distributing? That's the word. That's the word, isn't it? Yeah, I'm sure that's a word. Yeah. Distributing. Are you mainly distributing across the Southeast, or are you a bit going further afield now?
We are, but during lockdown, we've actually launched a sort of franchise partner distribution. And we're now in Suffolk as well, and hoping to sort of add a couple of counties a year, really, over the next few years.
And we'll get onto that. We'll get onto the future vision with that stuff as well, because I really want to pick your brains on that and how you sort of got to that decision to do that. But let's start with you, Sally, as a founder of a business, as a business owner. Where did the idea? Where did your story start? What was happening before the idea of Simply Ice Cream came up in your life?
Well, I actually went to Australia straight from school, only really for a gap year, and ended up staying 5-6 years. And I trained as a chef over there. Sorry, that's hopefully someone's going to get
that's another order that hopefully you're going to get. If not, this story is losing you money, not making you money.
Absolutely. So when I came back from Australia, my mother had set up a catering business in 1984, and her partner wanted to retire. So she couldn't carry on her own. So I started doing that with her. But I'd come back with the idea of setting up an advertising company. So I set that up. But I was also qualified as an aerobics instructor. So I also taught aerobics. And then literally about a year after doing all of that, I also took on a pub. So it was a really busy time, and it was quite sort of diverse. But I then met and married my husband, and we very quickly had our first child. So over the course of the next sort of probably 8 years, we had 4 children, and I started thinking, I'm catering every weekend. I was doing up to 80 weddings a year at the time. I had given up the advertising and the pub and the aerobics, actually, all sort of over the course of those years. And I ended up thinking, I'm never seeing my husband with my children. So I was with them all week. He was with them all weekend, but it was like we were single parents, actually. Mm-hmm. So we started thinking about, sort of what we could do next. And on the back of the weddings, we had so many people asking where they could buy the ice cream, that we thought, well, maybe that's a product we can sell into retail. So, as I say, it was a very slow build because obviously weddings are booked 2-3 years in advance, and we had a lot of weddings to sort of try and cut the catering down a little bit, so that we could actually build the ice cream up. But that's what we did.
Do you want a fun fact? I think the majority of business owners that I've spoken to on this podcast have taken gap years. Like took gap years, like early on in life, and then went on to come up with ideas and get passionate about something, which then they move on to create a business and find some success. Although the one question I do want to ask you is, I do think some of the best ideas come when you take time off and regroup. So maybe gap years is the best place to come up with ideas. Obviously, the idea of of ice cream, of catering, and becoming an aerobics instructor. There is a market out there for ice cream aerobics, Sally, and there is. Yeah, 100%. You'd have me doing aerobics if the offer was that I'd get a pot of ice cream afterwards, or during. I think there's a lot of exercises you can do whilst eating ice cream.
Well, maybe it's a new market we should tap into when they're allowed to open back up gyms.
One day. It's going. But can I copyright this? Whoever's watching right now, you know where the idea came from. So if you randomly see it out there, it came from me.
Right.
How did it feel then? You say that you owned or was managing was part of the catering company beforehand. But when you first sort of took that leap with creating Simply Ice Cream, where did that inspiration truly come from to do that? Why ice cream? Why Simply Ice Cream?
I think at the time it was, we got so many requests, and sort of wedding guests coming into the kitchens and saying, where can we buy it? That's sort of why we decided the ice cream might work.
So it was on the menu within the catering company.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, we quite often, especially at that time, there was a lot of sort of buffet style wedding meals. And so we did serve it as part of dessert quite a lot. And I think, sort of on the back of that, we decided that, sort of this might work as a product. But obviously, sort of all your friends and family are going to tell you it's amazing and you should sell it into retail and this sort of thing. But actually, the reality of doing that is very different. So we did take quite a long time sort of testing the market. We literally put it into one farm shop locally to us, where we were getting all our fruit and veg for the catering anyway. And he was brilliant. And he sort of trialed it for us for 6 months to see whether consumers we didn't know would actually buy it. And it seemed to work. So from there, we took it into, I think our next place was the Good Shed and then McNade's. And they're all still selling it now. So, yeah. So it was
long-standing relationships are always the best ones, aren't they? So for you, what was it like refining that recipe? Who was it? Was it you and your husband, so to speak, making up big batches of ice cream? And where did that come from?
Yeah, Robin can't really cook. And I mean, he's always very helpful and helps with sort of loading vans and things.
Is he a better taster? Because I think my fiance, she makes amazing mug cakes. Have you seen where you can basically put loads of ingredients in, put them in a microwave? She makes just the most incredible mug cakes. I gave them a go the other day, and it was the most disgusting thing we've ever tasted in our lives between us. So now she knows that I'm the taster of the two of us, and she's the one who's actually got to do the making.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, Robin quite regularly has a pot of ice cream in the evenings.
Nice.
He has to have dessert, so it's an easy one, isn't it, around here? But no, it's I think so he's actually never been sort of involved full-time in the business. So as far as the recipes are concerned, it's quite often if we're out at trade shows or consumer shows, and we've met another artisan producer who's got a really good product. So I mean, I think you've interviewed Sian at Fudge Kitchen. We use her peanut brittle, and she does a cob nut fudge for us. So they're just sort of two flavors that we introduced because we knew she was doing some product lines that might work. Quite often the public suggests things that we sort of have a go at. Some work, some don't. And in the past, there's sort of been competitions that we've run with other companies where they've invited the public to design an ice cream. So, yeah.
Nice inspiration from all different corners, local businesses, the public, yourselves, and of course the taste test with your husband as well, of course. I've got to say, I had this conversation with Sean because obviously, you know, in at Fudge Kitchen, as you mentioned, you know, when you're making fudge, you've got to be fluid and you've got to be able to be flexible and make different flavors, whether that's seasonal or you're trying out new products. I suppose it's the same with you guys. I always find it interesting to ask these questions. Do you know approximately how many different flavor combinations you've tried and how many different flavors you've
Oh,
put to market? Do you reckon you can
no.
roughly estimate?
Well, I mean, we've currently got 29 retail flavors in the range, but we quite often do bespoke or own labels. So we've probably done upwards of sort of 80 in total.
Wow.
But I think, you know, so for the retail range, there's not many outlets that can take all 29 flavors at the moment.
Of
So,
course.
and it does depend on the demographic as to what works in certain areas.
What would
So
you say is the most popular then in terms of flavors?
for us, honeycomb.
Honeycomb.
Yeah, honeycomb is, and actually it outsells vanilla, which is quite unusual. Vanilla, strawberry, chocolate are the three top sellers in the UK. I think, you know, sort of it is starting to change. People are starting to be a little bit more adventurous. And obviously when you look at the array of flavors in supermarkets now, you can tell that. But I think the top seller is still vanilla. So it's very close.
Do you think the adventurous nature from customers is now coming from the fact that there's so many other companies out there as well trying to do like these different viral flavors, and they're trying to do all these I'd name one company just off the tongue in terms of, you know, you go into a shop and you'll see Ben and Jerry's and it's like a concoction of so many different ways of being able to have ice cream, so many different flavors. So do you think then that you know that's contributing to so to speak the more adventurous way that customers are going out and so to speak buying their ice cream?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, people have traveled so much more extensively than they used to.
Yeah.
And our food in the UK has become so much more adventurous and you know, sort of, you know, years ago, we had Chinese and Indian, and now we have this whole fusion, which I think, you know, so but everyone is sort of educating their palate, and so they want different things.
Consumer habits are
Yeah.
changing all the time, and it's down to us to be flexible, right?
Yeah.
So we spoke about that. So how did it feel? Let's you know, getting in. We sort of spoke about getting into Waitrose, but even before then, when you first went to market as Simply Ice Cream, when was that? And so to speak, did you ever believe that it would take off like it has done?
Um, yes and no. I mean, I think because we had such a slow build to it all, and because, you know, sort of 4 kids when they were little, it was sort of juggling the whole time. So with the catering and the ice cream and the kids, it was busy. So I think we sort of grew the business without. It sounds silly, doesn't it? But without almost realizing it. And when we got to sort of 2012, we were suddenly like, okay, actually, I need to get on top of this. Because I think, you know, in a sort of lot of ways, I'd just been flying by the seat of my pants. So I think in 2012, I started working with some consultants. And I have to say that's been the best decision I ever made. And I think, you know, for small business owners, that is so important to, you know, to not only sort of look at your business from a different point of view, but to work with consultants who can help you grow and make sure that everything is in place to enable you to do that.
Oh, do you know, when it comes to working with consultants, in some ways, people say that's having a look and trying to find help and help with the way to do things and to expand your business and grow. A lot of people out there really shy or potentially don't want to ask for help or don't know. Don't know how to feel about going out there and being able to find those people to help the business. What would you say to those people, and how did it feel for you knowing that there's people out there who could help you?
I think, you know, sort of as an entrepreneur, when you first set up your business and you grow it, it's quite a lonely thing to do, you know, and you sort of you're questioning yourself constantly. Even now, I mean, you know, sort of it doesn't get any easier, I don't think. And so to have a consultant to sort of sound ideas off and to keep you sane really is really important. And I think for me, it was sort of things like Kent and Victor Chambers, produced in Kent. There are so many sort of groups that can help you and direct you in the right way. And I think the other thing you shouldn't be scared of is if you don't get along with your consultant in the way you thought you were going to, is changing them or changing the direction that, you know, sort of they want you to go in. I think you've got to be quite sure of the direction you want to go in and then have that backed up really. So yeah.
No, that's fantastic advice. It really is. And for any businesses owner out there or entrepreneurs out there at the very early stages, we do some great work with the Kent Foundation, who are fantastic in linking people up with the help they need, and also linking people up with mentors to sort of help them express themselves, help business owners express themselves, and try to find the best viable way to be able to, take their business to market or even grow their business. So I definitely recommend them. And there's some great people out there as well. Roger Keach is someone who I've known for ages, who's great. He knows about grants. He knows about how businesses can look and find help. So definitely have a look. There's a great community of people out there who do know how to help budding entrepreneurs out there. And even talking and listening to business owners like Sally, digest it all, and it helps. It really does help. Having someone to bounce off of and listen to and inspire towards really, I believe, helps you progress. So 100%, that's fantastic advice. And let's face it, Sally, talking there about help sort of moves us on nicely here. There's always challenges along the way, isn't there, when it comes to owning a business, and especially in this current climate. So how have you maybe adapted to approach challenging situations along the way, and how do you approach a challenging situation now?
Well, I think obviously the pandemic is a massive one. Prior to that, I think, business is a roller coaster, and you're never going to be 100% sure that you're on the right trajectory, and you have to sort of, almost, horrible word, pivot, that everyone uses, but you have to think in terms of doing that on a regular basis. It's never plain sailing. There's always some issue that comes up. I think the pandemic, obviously, for everybody has highlighted that they need to sort of think outside the box, and a lot of people have had to change their whole sort of business approach. For us, I mean, we had about 70% of our customers close within that first couple of weeks in March. The retailers were very busy in that first lockdown, so that actually kept us going. And then the furlough scheme came in, so that's been a godsend for us. I think, sort of it's enabled us to keep most of our staff. And I think that's really important because they know the business. They've worked with me for, at least sort of 2-3 years, even the ones that have only been here for 2-3 years, and I would hate to lose them because they know the business inside out. And it's a family when you run a small business together. So, but I think for us, it's enabled me to have a lot of thinking time and sort of work out the direction that we want the business to go in. A couple of years ago, I did the Goldman Sachs Small Business Program, which was amazing, and I'd recommend it to anyone. They especially want women to join. But it's a sort of 4-month course, and it just, you reevaluate your whole business proposition. And for me, I started thinking about sort of this franchise partner distribution then. Obviously, you then come back into the business and get swallowed up in day-to-day stuff. And so it was sort of on the back burner. But actually, this time has enabled me to think about it and actually launch it this time. So for us, I think it's always been really important for me that we were seen in farm shops, independents, delis. That is our focus. That's our main business. We are in some supermarkets as well, but for us, that's where we started. And I think sort of it's always been something I wanted to do, was to sort of get the ice cream out across the UK, but within the independent sector.
Yeah, no, yeah. Oh, sorry. Was you going to say?
No.
Oh, no, I was going to say, yeah. It's there are some great. What was the course again that you mentioned there? The Goldman Sachs.
It's Goldman Sachs. Yeah, it's
Goldman
fully
Sachs.
funded, and it's the 10,000 small businesses.
Yeah,
And it's
again,
brilliant. Yeah.
goes to show the great help out there and the ways that you can expand on your knowledge when running and owning a business. Just quickly on COVID, obviously that hit, and I spoke to Laura, who runs Wildbox, and obviously as Wildbox events, her whole business at that point was based on going out to events, and she literally said about the domino effect for her, where literally the phone rang and the first person cancelled, and then within 2 hours every single event had gone, and she sort of had to adapt. For you guys at Simply Ice Cream, do you have, I know obviously you signed up to your local delivery and you're trying to push out some ice cream, but to sell one pot of ice cream online doesn't really work for you guys, does it? So how have you had to adapt virtually? Have you gone slightly more digital in your approach during these times at all?
It's very difficult. I felt quite strongly that sort of our retailers have been so loyal to us over the years that for me to set up a whole sort of B2C myself wasn't really going to work or be fair. So we did supply people who were self-isolating, because actually it's quite hard for the farm shops to deliver frozen goods because they don't have freezer vans. So although some of them did do deliveries with ice cream, I think it was quite difficult for them. So we did offer that service, and do for people self-isolating still if they want ice cream. With the franchise partnership that we're setting up, that is going to be something we do right from the start. So they have that opportunity to actually sell B2C as well as B2B from the beginning. And I think setting it up that way, there shouldn't be a problem. Because I think, if it's known, it's known. Whereas I think, I just don't want to upset my retailers. So although we set up the Your Local Delivery on it, and we did, we were probably getting 2-3 orders a week, which, in the current situation was great. We needed it. But I think, for us, the crockery and things will probably be more of a driving force behind the website than the actual ice cream itself.
Yeah, because the gift sets and they work nicely, especially during this moment, and they have longevity as well, don't they? Too.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, because obviously, we talk a lot with e-commerce businesses on here, and people, like obviously Fudge Kitchen is one that did twist, and I've seen B2C go through the roof for their website, and obviously, I think for you guys, there's a number of reasons why obviously B2C and creating that e-commerce store might be a struggle as well. I'm just wondering, is that mainly logistically for you? Did you have a think when you was thinking about, well, okay, do we go full out e-commerce here? Did you have a think about, so to speak, the difficulties of what that would be, so to speak? And I'm wondering if maybe you can talk to us about some, because also we talk a lot about the ease of being able to sell online and the positives of being able to sell online. Obviously, for a company like yours, it's difficult.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't send ice cream with a courier, or if you do, it's a frozen courier, and it's around about £200 a delivery, even if you send 6 small pots. So, it's just not viable. So I think for us, when we first started thinking about it, it was mainly within our delivery area. But obviously setting something up on a website, we very quickly realised that we were getting orders from Yorkshire and Devon, and that wasn't going to work because we can't get it to them. So I think it was fine to do it within our delivery area, and we actually have our own vans that deliver to most of the sort of surrounding areas in the southeast, so Surrey, Sussex, I suppose this side of London, Essex. So we could do those, but it's sort of, we were doing it as part of our B2B drops. So it worked during lockdown because it hasn't been that busy. But come the summer, if everyone reopens, that's going to be, sort of very difficult. And we will probably have to rethink if we're still having to do that, and maybe get a sort of smaller van and someone who goes out delivering just a B2C.
Yeah.
So yeah, logistically, it's frozen. It's a nightmare.
It's about being flexible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, with frozen foods, you can't be that flexible. So as you said there, it's one of those where you're going to have to look at your radius and have a look at if that is something you offer, and then it's taking on potentially another member of staff, getting the right sort of van to do it, and logistically, it's, as you say, it's a tough one. But at least you can be flexible with that, and I think that's quite important. So let's talk about the future, and let's talk about the potential franchise model that you've mentioned before, and where you want to take the business. Where did that idea come from?
Probably the Goldman Sachs program, really. So the whole point of the course is to actually encourage you to think out of the box as far as your business is concerned. And although, when you first apply and they look at the model you have, that's what they take you on as, but they really encourage you to think outside of the box and what might work for your business, and what's sort of not in the marketplace at the moment, I suppose. So, and it's the franchise partnership distribution is different to a franchise as such, because we are making it on site and shipping it. So, because that's always an issue with food. If you start franchising recipes and things, people don't necessarily follow the recipes and follow the sort of quality that you want to keep. So I think, we've played around with models over the years, and this one works, I think.
So how why do you? I'm really keen to sort of find out on the franchise, and you sort of said there you're looking at Surrey now, is it? It looks like it's going to be a franchise
No,
launching
we've launched in Suffolk.
Suffolk.
Yeah,
Sorry, my
yeah.
bad.
So
And you're
yeah,
looking at say 2 a year. You're saying there. What impact do you think this is going to have on your business? Because when maybe you hear it out loud, and you go, oh, you know, 2 areas, 2 counties within a year. You know, it sounds like, you know, you're looking at maybe just testing and trying the waters and taking your time with it. But no, it's, you know, counties are big areas, aren't they?
yeah. No,
You
they
know.
are. Yeah, and actually Lucy, who's taken the Suffolk franchise, a bit like, you know, so when I launched in October, and I can remember walking into McNade's in February with a few pots of ice cream and handing them to Stefano, who literally just said, "Are you mad?" You know, it's like middle of winter. And Lucy has launched in November, end of November, but actually she's already taken on 4 farm shops, and there's a theatre, but obviously they're closed. But as soon as they open, they've placed an order. And then she's got 3 more delis. So actually, in the space of sort of 6-8 weeks, she's done really well. She's also doing farmers markets, which I have to admit I don't have the enthusiasm for it anymore. You know, sort of standing in the winter. I love doing them in the summer, but winter months, I find selling ice cream really tough. But she's out there every Friday and Saturday, and loving it. So.
Well,
You know,
I suppose for the ambassadors, the franchise owners, in some ways to speak, or the franchise managers, it's their responsibility to go and sell the product. You know, it's their responsibility to go and have as much passion as you do to be able to get the brand out there, because obviously then that's where they're going to make their money too. So what kind of impact is having these ambassadors and these franchises going to have on your business?
Well, hopefully it will grow it quite substantially. I think, you know, what we're aiming is for them to sort of be turning over upwards of 80 to 100,000 by the end of the first year and a half. So I think sort of 6 months to get themselves set up and sort of really know what the lie of the land is, and then you know, sort of with our model, they should be able to take on X amount of farm shops and theatres and cinemas and ice cream parlours, that sort of thing. So, you know, sort of hopefully, you know, they will be making quite a good living from it as well.
You're at the early stages now, and I'm really happy that we're going to be doing some work together on this too. That we're at the early stages of making this so to speak idea and dream a reality. And of course, you've already taken one on, so now they need a platform to potentially go to B2C, or the platform to be able to showcase their franchise, Simply Ice Cream brand, so to speak. How are you feeling at the moment with how it's all going?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite excited. We're working with a franchise consultant. So he's actually had a couple of conversations with some quite interested parties, one in Yorkshire, and one in sort of the TW area of London, which is just a little bit too far for us. So yeah, I think, you know, so I'm looking forward to it. We're also we're hoping to move site in the next sort of 4 or 5 months. We've been working from home for as long as we've been going, but my mother is now moving into the production unit, so we have to get out. So
yeah, that doesn't mean that she's going to be sleeping with the tubs of ice cream, by the way. This is the idea of that you're moving units.
Yeah, we have to move out first. Yeah.
Although I reckon ice cream would make a great pillow.
Do you think?
Yeah,
I think
reckon so.
it might get a bit messy.
Oh, maybe as it will keep you cool at the very least on a hot summer's day. Although this time of year, I don't really fancy that. So yeah, so you're looking to obviously move units. You said that's extremely exciting. The franchise distribution model looks like it's going to kick off. And as you said there, this is an idea that sort of really came to mind whilst you were taking a course a couple of years back. So I was going to ask a question that was I sort of ask everyone in terms of when you started the business, is there a certain mission you set out on, and so to speak, how close you are to achieving that? But I think what we're learning from this conversation with you is, as a business owner, Sally, you've been extremely flexible and you found opportunities and you found different ways to be able to expand and scale the Simply Ice Cream brand in real time as well. But for you, having that franchise distribution idea and model moving forward, it's going to take you in a different direction, isn't it? So where are your goalposts now? How do the next 5 years look for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, sort of the move is really exciting. We're sort of hoping to partner with the estate that we're moving to in quite a lot of ways, but that's sort of for discussion. I think just having the ice cream off site will sort of give us more of a sort of work-life balance, hopefully. It'll be very different, sort of not being able to suddenly make, a few batches at midnight to fill an order that comes in. So we'll have to be more proactive about making sure that all our orders are in. But I think, sort of with the franchise, it's just building the business, seeing it sort of across the UK, which has always been something I'd really wanted to do. I think sort of part of me sort of, again, this roller coaster when you're running your own business, you sort of go through sort of phases of thinking, I've had enough now, and then getting very excited about the next step. So, and I think, especially in this pandemic, I think we've all had days where we're just like, what are we doing? But this for me is sort of, I think you have to keep yourself excited in business. You have to keep thinking of new things to sort of bring on board. We're also launching vegan ice cream this year as well. So that's quite exciting. We've wanted to do that for a couple of years, but again, it's just sort of, I think timing is really important in business. And I think because you get hit with things the whole time, things do get pushed to the back. But I think, I am excited for the next couple of years. I think, yes, it's been a difficult sort of year. And actually even more so, I mean, I think Brexit had a massive impact on Kent businesses. So I think really for the last 3 years, it's been quite challenging. But I'm looking forward to the next couple of years.
I need to ask you where my local farm shop or Waitrose is so that I can grab some Simply Ice Cream, because for Valentine's Day I'm not going to be about on Saturday evening, so I can't spend it with my fiance. So I'm getting absolutely killed for that. But what I'm doing is I'm putting together like a little local hamper of like little local brands that she loves eating and foods and treats that she loves eating. So I done my fudge kitchen order this morning. I need to get a couple of tubs of Simply Ice Cream, and also there's another brand. It's not local, but they've just opened in Canterbury. I love brownies. She absolutely loves the brownies from there, and she's completely gluten free because she's got celiac. So I'm putting together a little hamper for her. So I'm going to have to after this call find out which store I can get to grab her some ice cream. So I'm putting that hamper together in mind, guys, by the way, that we can potentially spend Saturday evening together, and so that she knows she's got a treat there for Sunday evening, so she won't miss me too much, because she will have tubs of ice cream, brownie and fudge. Winner. That's my thinking.
Yeah.
The way to her heart is food. It really is. Sweet treats. Done.
Yeah. You don't need men when you've got all that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. don't tell her that, by the way.
She might know that.
I'm punching as it is. I don't need her to know that there's a route out, that she just needs food in her life. I don't need that. I need everything going for me as possible. Sally, it's been so wonderful catching up with you again. I love your story, and I absolutely love the brand, and I love where you're going. For anyone out there who wants to learn more about Simply Ice Cream, where do they need to go?
Well, you can go onto the website, www.simplyicecream.co.uk. And there's actually a postcode finder on there. So that will, if you plug your postcode in, that will take you to your nearest outlets.
Amazing. Sally, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, as I said at the very start of this, if you want to listen to me talking with other inspiring business owners from the Southeast, please do check out Scale Up Stories on your podcast platform. Next week, we'll be back with another Scale Up Stories show. This time it'll be next Wednesday. I'm going to be joined by Kevin at Cantium Gin. We're going to be chatting about how he has grown his business and where the idea came from with the bottles. I absolutely love them. They're like little flasks. They're great. So make sure you subscribe to us wherever you're watching, and follow us on LinkedIn. And I'll speak to you guys next week. Please stay safe out there.